So we're still looking at tax deductions here. This is a big one, and it's a hard one to understand. It's called depreciation. Now, when we've looked at the other ones, we've talked about costs. When we looked here. Let's take a look at some of the previous ones we've done. We talked about our plumber. He had deductions because he paid $1,400 for tools, $25 for gumboots, $200 for this, blah, 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 blah. And when we talked about the car, she was getting deductions because she was running her car. Now, in these cases, you can see it's a pretty straightforward example. They've pulled money out of their own pocket to buy something that allows them to do their job. In this case, it's all about fuel and fixing up your car. In these cases, he was pulling money out and going to Bunnings and buying his tools, buying his gumboots, buying his overalls, whatever. This is a slightly different form. We're looking at depreciation. Now let's read about it. Tax deductions are also allowed for the depreciation of major equipment. Depreciation means the loss of value. So tax deductions are also allowed for the depreciation of major equipment, for the loss of value of major equipment. For example, a teacher may own a home computer that is used to prepare lessons and store marks. The computer loses value as it becomes older, and so a tax deduction is allowed for this. So for instance, let's say in the year 2012, a teacher buys his computer for $2,000. Now, by the time it hits the year 2013, if he was to sell that computer, it might only be worth, I don't know, $1,500. And then maybe in the year 2014, it'd be worth even less than that. It would be worth $1,000. Now, eventually, you can see if this trend continues, sooner or later, this computer is going to be worthless, which is how computers generally work. They only last a certain amount of years. And then, about the year 2017, you need to buy a new one. Now, what this means is that the value of our computer has been going down by $500 each year until eventually it's worthless. Now, that's very simple. That's called straight line depreciation. We're going to be doing depreciation a little more complicated than that. Let's look at this question. Trevor is an accountant who works from home. He owns a personal computer that is used as part of his job. Trevor bought a new computer on the 1st of July 2008 for $3,200. Each year, he is allowed a 33% deduction for the depreciation of the computer. Calculate the tax deduction that Trevor can claim 2008-2009 and then 2009-2010. That's how we talk about financial years. They go from the 1st of July to the 30th of June. Let's look at the first year. He bought the computer for $3,000, but then it loses 33% of its value, minus 0.33 times whatever that initial value was. Okay, so let's put that into our calculator, see what pops out. 0.33 times 3,200. So 3,200 minus 1,056. 3,200 minus 1,056. So that means that at the end of the first year, that is the 30th of June when the financial year ends, the computer is now worth $2,144. Now that's what the worth of the computer is after the first year, but the actual deduction, the depreciation, is this amount. So deduction equals 1,056. It was simply 33%. Okay, sorry about that loudspeaker there. Okay, now that we're back into it, we can see that this personal computer was first valued at $3,200. It lost 33% of its value, which was 1,056. That's the deduction we make. Now you might be asking, why did I bother even finding this number, 2,144? That's because that's going to be the value. This is the second year. That's going to be the value at the start of the second year. It's going to have a value of 2,144. Now, if I subtract 0.33 times that amount, 2,144, I can figure out what its value will be at the end of the second year. Okay, so we have minus $707.52. And when I type that into my calculator, we get 1436.48. Now be careful here. I've done this maths, but I really need you to see what it all means. The computer was bought for $3,200. At the start of the first year, that was its value, and it lost $1,056 worth of value. So that's the deduction in the first year. Oops. That's the deduction in the first year. Now, in the second year, it started with this value, which is what we got from here. Now, we subtract 0.33 times 2,144. That's 33% of that value. We get $707.52. That's going to be the deduction for the second year. And at the end of the second year, it'll have a value of $1,436.48. We can continue year after year after year, and eventually this computer will have close to a value of 0, which is what you'd expect. Eventually that computer becomes basically worthless. Okay, there's deduction. There's depreciation as a tax deduction. It does get complicated. I think you are really going to have a little bit of trouble with it, so make sure you're talking to me and going through those questions. Thanks, guys.